Good morning, my app are back. Here's the plan. Gazebo, bathroom, tiling, electrical, painting, false wall, probably lots of other things. What could possibly go wrong? I just wanted to spend a moment talking about our dog Max and what killed him, and hopefully the message might help one or two of you, I don't know. What killed Max was heartworm. The heartworm got into him a number of years ago now while we were still in Hong Kong, and eventually damaged his heart and his lungs to such a degree that he was really struggling to breathe. I killed him by neglect, by failing to give him preventive heartworm medication on a regular enough basis. We did give it to him, it wasn't enough. Please, I'm sure if you're dog owners, or cat owners for that matter, I'm sure you know already about heartworm. Probably you know about heartworm. It is a killer. It doesn't have to kill. It can be stopped. It can be prevented. Even if your dog or your cat gets heartworm, if you catch it early enough, the heartworm medication will kill the worms, and hopefully it will kill them before too much damage has been done to that animal. In the Philippines, our vet thinks that the statistics suggest 80% of dogs have heartworm, and it can be transmitted from one dog to another via predominantly mosquitoes. 80%. Now, the good news is most dogs and cats will never have so much damage to them that it'll cause them a problem. In Max's case, it did. So my failure to give him his regular medication, which at the moment you can do either on a monthly tablet, or you can now get an injection that will cover him or her for 12 months, and where you are maybe even longer. I don't know if there's new medication available elsewhere. If you have dogs, if you have cats, if you haven't done it already, please give them heartworm medication. Just protect your animals in a way that I didn't. It's part of the reason that I feel so bad about Max going. He was only 8 years old, and I know in the end it was my fault. So, look after your furry friends. Give them those pills. Let's start here today at the gazebo. Quite a lot has gone on since we last looked at this. There was more work done on Saturday morning, just a small crew, and they didn't do a huge amount. But during the course of Friday and Saturday, they did get the concrete hollow block all the way up to the height of where the slab will be. And now we've got most of the backfill done. So they are tamping down, and they have been doing that as they go to make sure this is as solid a backfill as possible. And then coming in the not too distant future, we've got a concrete floor here. There is more work to be done before that. They will have to take care of a little bit of electrical work and a little bit of plumbing before that base goes in. So I'm pretty confident that that won't be today. I think there's too much work to be done before that happens. We have two new guys working on the outside bathroom area. One mixing up the mortar. One actually rendering the outside walls. So that makes me think they are fully up to height with the concrete hollow block, otherwise I'm pretty sure they wouldn't be doing this. So that window on this side is right up against where the roof, the ceiling will be. But progress here. Ernie is painting. but he's not painting white, so I can show it. This sort of reflects what was done on the gas station canopy at the front of the house, where the recesses for the lights are black. And I think it works really well in these small areas. In the sunroom, Frederick has got most of the tiles into this highlight area. These tiles will be bordered left and right with a little bit of plyboard, just to give it a little extra look. So those tiles are nearly done. Take it easy, Bill. And we have decided that yes, we will go ahead with tiles, a little bit of tiling over on this area as well. In the dining room, we now have all of the frame for this false wall. The engineer asked me this morning, what finish do we want on that? And I have to say, I'm not entirely sure, I'm convinced, but I've said to him I would like it to be the same as the finish on the wood over here. Hopefully that works. There are other options. We could take it back to a white color. We could do all sorts of things with it. One thing we definitely can't do is put tiles on top of it. And we wouldn't want to anyway, because as I've said before, we need to have the ability, if we ever have to remove this wall in case there's any repair needed to the door tracks. They did treat the wood before they put it back in with silicon. It was only 2 coats, not 3. I guess I'm kind of okay with that. I would have preferred that it went for the full 3 coats, but 2 hopefully at least slows the termites down a little bit. We do now have quite a number of the downstairs double doors in place. We've seen most of this before, but I'll show it one more time. So here is going from the kitchen into the dining room. You are going to need several dizzy pills, because we're going to be spinning a bit now. This is leading from the kitchen out onto the north side of the house. And there's the door going into the dirty kitchen. And we do have, I'm not going to keep spinning, we do have the doors going into the gym and spa area, which I think you've also seen before. There's still more to be done. We don't yet have this door leading out of the laundry room. Here at the entrance, Papa Jess and Resty, one of the painters, just making some adjustments, or at least checking measurements on this, what has been described as peacock feathers type light fixture. Our Olympic rings on steroids light is back in. There is still some painting to be done up around the fixture itself, so it's not quite finished here yet. It's just after lunch, and once again we'll start here at the gazebo. The guys have been busy. As you can probably make out, I'll go in a little closer just to help. They have finished all the backfill, and then they put down the layer of gravel that they always do with a concrete base. And now they're putting in the rebar. So there's a grid stretching all the way across this, and they tie every junction together with steel wire. After this, I think we'll start to see electrical, not plumbing today because we don't have a plumber on site, but that's most likely the next step in the process. Before we go inside, something I was very remiss, but I wanted to just say a massive thank you to everybody that's put in some really very kind and comforting comments over the last 2 videos. The one regarding the loss of our dog Max, and then the very brief video that we showed with a little bit of the aftermath of the Typhoon carding that came through and nearly took out our little house. I've received so many comments, and I have tried to keep up with replying to everybody. Just a few more to go, but they are a great comfort, particularly actually the ones regarding dogs. If you don't have dogs, if you're not a dog person, I'm sure that all probably felt a bit over the top when I spoke about Max. Started blubbing at the end of it, which was rather pathetic. But as a dog person, which I am, dogs really do form part of your family. And it was the first time I've ever lost a dog. As I've mentioned earlier on, a little bit of my feelings were tainted by the guilt of knowledge that I could have done more earlier to prevent it. But anyway, the point is, huge thanks to everybody for the very, very kind comments that you all put in. It is hugely appreciated. Speaking of the typhoon, this was the tree that we showed that had lost a large part of it. And if you saw that video, you'll know that this area was an utter mess, just totally full with the branches that came down. And look at it now. One of the huge, wonderful things that I'm continuing to find about the Philippines. When something happens, the family rallies round. They all live fairly locally, but we had a whole host of family members here on Monday morning, helping with the clear up. The family themselves took care of clearing up. I mean, I helped for a while and realised I was more in the way than helping, but they've cleared up all of this and even done a little bit of repair. Wasn't a lot needed, it's still not quite right, but a little bit of repair up on that roof. So, family here, my word, do they rally round. They are sensational. Mark and Tony are our two new guys working on the outside bathroom. And look at this. In just a morning, they've got all of the outside wall rendered on these two sides. I haven't poked my head around the corner yet. We'll leave that as a nice surprise, or not, for later. Inside the sunroom, tiling all finished on this wall. As I mentioned, there's a bit more to be done with some plyboard, but the tiling's in. And another dizzy pill, guys. Come on, keep up. Pretty solid start on filling in this wall as well. In the double height area above the sunroom, it turns out that they weren't happy with the support for this chandelier light. So what they've done is they took it down, they've changed that support to make sure that the light fixture is being supported by trusses and not mostly with gypsum board, which it was previously. So this should be a much safer fixture now. It's the end of the regular day. Before we take a look around, Steve L has put in the following. He says, I tried to remarry my ex-wife, but she realised I was only in it for my money. Let's see what's going on. Well, the first thing is, they're still working, or at least 8 or 9 of them are, and they are pouring the concrete slab. I spoke to the engineer, he confirmed that the plumbing can be done after the slab is in. You can probably make out some orange conduit. They have had Vapajess, our electrician, running that conduit in preparation for electric connections in here. Now, there's quite a bit of thunder rumbling around. There's some fairly dark skies, not too far away. We'll have to see whether they can get this done tonight. But so far, I think they've poured out, about 2 loads from the concrete mixer. It's going to take quite a few more. They've got all the materials here. If the weather helps them, they'll get this finished. I'm not sure whether my money's on them or the weather. At the outside bathroom, the shower and toilet, one of the inside walls now fully plastered, rendered, That's the only one so far, but it's progress. Speaking of progress, Frederick and I think with Elson have done 2/3 of the tiling for this little section of wall just here. This is the only other bit of tiling in the sunroom, apart from what they did earlier on behind me. Then the rest of it will be painted. I know I'm breaking my own rule, but I've been feeling a bit bad about not showing the painters. So, inside the kitchen, most of the walls now are a nice bright white. Willie was working in here again today. Given that I've broken my rule, might as well be in for a pound as in for $1, which remarkably, at least to me, are pretty much at parity at the moment. I'm not used to the dollar and the pound being 1 for 1, but that's almost where they are. Anyway, the painters on the outside have made a lot more progress here on the north outside wall of the house. A lot of this now looking nice and white. Nothing else really significant to show you inside the house, so we'll stick with this and see how they get on with or without rain. Fingers crossed. It's just before 6 o'clock. The light is fading fast, not helped by the rain clouds around it, and we actually have some rain spots now that look like they're going to get heavier quite soon. They didn't quite get finished. They've probably done a little bit more than half, maybe getting towards 2/3 of the concrete poured. That'll get finished off tomorrow. See you then.